Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question that may challenge the way you've been living your life. What if the reason things haven't changed yet is not because of lack of opportunity, luck, or support, but because you haven't taken full responsibility? Now, don't rush past this thought. Stay with me. Because if you truly understand what I'm about to share, it could save you years of struggle, frustration, and waiting. Most people are hoping life will change. They're waiting for motivation. They're waiting for someone to believe in them. But the truth is this: life changes the moment you decide to take responsibility for it. And that's why you must listen to this message till the very end, because by the time we're done, you won't just feel inspired. You'll understand why the day you take full responsibility, everything changes. The turning point of life does not come with a loud announcement. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or applause. Most of the time, it comes quietly through a single decision. A decision that says, from this day forward, I take full responsibility for my life. This is where everything begins. Most people believe their lives will change when conditions improve, when the economy gets better, when the right person appears, when luck finally smiles at them. But here is the truth most never hear. Life does not change by chance, it changes by choice. And the most powerful choice you will ever make is the choice to take responsibility. Responsibility is not about blaming yourself for everything that went wrong. That's not strength, that's guilt. Responsibility is about recognizing that no matter what happened yesterday, today still belongs to you. It means you accept that while you may not control everything that happens, you absolutely control what you do next. As long as you blame something outside yourself, you give away your power. If it's the government's fault, you're helpless. If it's your parents' fault, you're stuck. If it's the economy's fault, you're waiting. But the moment you say, this is my responsibility, you regain control, because now something can be done. Responsibility is the turning point because it shifts you from being a victim of circumstances to becoming a student of results. Instead of asking, why does this keep happening to me? You begin to ask, what can I learn from this? And that question alone can change the direction of your life. You see, life is a remarkable teacher, but it only teaches those who are willing to take responsibility for the lesson. Many people want change without ownership. They want better results without better habits. They want rewards without discipline. But life doesn't work that way. Life says, show me responsibility and I'll show you opportunity. The day you take responsibility is the day excuses lose their power. And excuses are dangerous because they sound reasonable. They come dressed as logic. They say, anyone in your position would struggle. And maybe that's true, but that truth will not build your future. Responsibility says something far more powerful. Even if this is difficult, I will grow. Even if this is unfair, I will improve. Even if I failed before, I will learn and try again. This is the mindset that builds strong character, and strong character builds a strong life. Here's something important to understand. Responsibility does not limit you, it frees you. When you stop waiting for permission, approval, or perfect conditions, you begin to move, and movement creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence changes results. Think about this. Every successful person you admire reached a moment where they stopped saying someone should do something and started saying, I will. That's responsibility in action. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You rise to the level of your responsibility. The moment you accept responsibility, your thinking sharpens. You stop wasting energy on complaints and start investing it in solutions. You become more disciplined, not because someone is watching, but because you respect your own future. And that is the real turning point of life. Not when the world changes, not when people change, but when you change. So if you're waiting for the perfect time, let me tell you something important. The perfect time is not coming. The opportunity you're looking for begins the moment you say, this is my life and I will take responsibility for it. Because the day you take full responsibility is the day everything begins to turn in your favor. Blame is one of the most dangerous habits a person can develop, not because it feels heavy, but because it feels comfortable. It gives temporary relief. It explains failure, it softens disappointment. But at the same time, it quietly steals your future. The moment you blame something outside yourself, you surrender control. You may not realize it, but every excuse carries a hidden message. There is nothing I can do. And once you believe that, progress stops. Ownership, on the other hand, does the exact opposite. Ownership says, I may not like where I am, but I can do something about it. That single shift in thinking is the difference between stagnation and growth. Most people blame without even noticing it. They blame their past for their present. They blame lack of support for lack of results. They blame circumstances for lack of discipline. And while those explanations may sound reasonable, they are incredibly expensive. They cost time, they cost confidence, they cost momentum. Blame weakens because it trains the mind to look outward instead of inward. It focuses attention on what cannot be controlled rather than what can be improved. And what you focus on determines what you become. Ownership builds power because it places responsibility back where it belongs, within your control. When you take ownership, you stop asking, who is at fault? And start asking, what can I do next? That question creates energy. That question creates direction. Here is a powerful truth. You cannot fix what you refuse to own. If you refuse to own your habits, they will own you. If you refuse to own your decisions, they will repeat themselves. If you refuse to own your results, they will never change. Ownership is not about being harsh with yourself. It is about being honest with yourself. It means acknowledging that your current results are connected to your current actions, and if you want different results, different actions are required. This is where true confidence is born. Confidence does not come from positive thinking alone. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you will respond with responsibility. That belief creates inner strength. Blame, however, keeps you small. It keeps you reacting instead of leading. It convinces you that growth is dependent on external approval or better conditions. But ownership teaches you something far more powerful. You are not stuck. You are simply uncommitted to change. The most successful people are not those with perfect backgrounds or easy lives. They are people who stopped explaining their situation and started improving it. They didn't wait for life to become fair. They became stronger. When you take ownership, excuses lose their voice. You no longer say, I don't have time. You say, I haven't made it a priority. You no longer say, I can't change. You say, I haven't decided to change yet. That honesty is uncomfortable, but it is powerful. Ownership sharpens discipline. It strengthens decision-making. It builds self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of every meaningful achievement. The moment you stop blaming, life stops pushing back. Because life responds to strength, not complaints. It responds to responsibility, not excuses. You don't gain power by blaming the world. You gain power by owning your choices. And the moment you fully understand this, the moment you replace blame with ownership, you stop being at the mercy of circumstances and start becoming the force that shapes them. That is why blame weakens and ownership builds power. Every life is guided by an invisible force. It doesn't announce itself, yet it quietly shapes decisions, habits, and results. That force is your personal philosophy, the set of beliefs you carry about how life works, what you deserve, and what you are willing to do. Your future is not shaped primarily by your income, your education, or your environment. It is shaped by your philosophy. And until that philosophy changes, very little else will. Many people struggle not because they lack opportunity, but because they have adopted weak philosophies. They say things like, that's just how life is, or this is as good as it gets, or I'll try when I feel ready. Those thoughts may sound harmless, but they quietly lower standards and delay action. A poor philosophy produces poor results even in good circumstances. A strong philosophy can produce excellent results even in difficult ones. Your philosophy determines how you respond to challenges. Two people can face the same setback. One grows stronger, the other grows bitter. The difference is not the event. The difference is the philosophy. When responsibility becomes part of your philosophy, everything shifts. You stop seeing problems as punishments and start seeing them as teachers. You stop asking life to be easier and start asking yourself to be better. Life rewards philosophy, not intention. Good intentions without discipline lead nowhere. But a strong philosophy combined with consistent action creates momentum that compounds over time. Here is something worth thinking about. Life does not care how badly you want something. Life responds to what you do repeatedly. And what you do repeatedly is always tied to what you believe. If your philosophy says, I'll act when I feel motivated, your progress will be inconsistent. If your philosophy says, I'll act because it's necessary, your progress will be unstoppable. A powerful philosophy accepts reality without surrendering to it. It says, this is hard, but I can handle hard. It says, this may take time, but I am willing to grow. That mindset builds resilience, and resilience builds success. Many people try to change their results without changing their philosophy. They switch jobs, cities, or relationships, hoping the outside change will fix the inside problem. But the same thinking produces the same outcomes. No matter where you go, change the philosophy and the results will follow. Your philosophy also determines your standards. It decides what you tolerate, what you ignore, and what you commit to improving. Low standards invite regret. High standards invite growth. When you raise your philosophy, you raise your expectations of yourself. You become more careful with time, more disciplined with habits, and more intentional with decisions. Not because someone is forcing you, but because your philosophy demands it. Here is the turning point. The moment you accept that your philosophy is your responsibility, no one gave it to you permanently. It can be challenged, refined, and rebuilt. Ask yourself better questions. What do I believe about effort? What do I believe about failure? What do I believe about my ability to grow? Because the answers to those questions are shaping your future right now. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more luck. You need a stronger philosophy, one that says, no matter what happens, I am responsible for becoming better. Adopt that philosophy, and over time, quietly and consistently, your future will change. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many people think discipline is punishment, pressure, or a rigid life with no freedom. But in reality, discipline is none of those things. Discipline is a choice, a daily decision to do what needs to be done, even when emotions suggest otherwise. Excuses are the greatest enemy of discipline. They sound reasonable, even intelligent. They say, I'm tired, this isn't the right time, and while each excuse feels harmless on its own, together they form a habit that delays success indefinitely. The moment excuses end, discipline begins. Discipline does not wait for motivation. Motivation is unpredictable, it comes and goes. Discipline, however, shows up regardless of mood. It understands that progress is not built on feelings, but on commitment. Most people know what they should do. Very few do it consistently. The gap between knowledge and results is discipline. And that gap is filled not by intensity, but by consistency. Excuses protect comfort, but discipline builds character. Comfort asks, what feels easy right now? Discipline asks, what will matter in the long run? The answer to that question determines the direction of your life. Here is a powerful truth. Every excuse is a decision. When you say, I don't have time, you are really saying, this is not a priority. When you say, I can't, you are really saying, I won't try. Discipline begins when you become honest with yourself about those choices. Discipline is an act of self-respect. It is how you tell yourself that your future is worth effort. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you strengthen your confidence. Every time you break one, you weaken it. The disciplined person is not someone with more willpower. They are someone with clearer standards. They have decided in advance what they will and will not accept from themselves. That clarity removes negotiation with excuses. Discipline also creates freedom, not restriction. The disciplined mind is calm because it knows progress is being made. The disciplined life is flexible because it is built on strong habits, not last-minute reactions. Think about this. Small disciplined actions repeated daily produce massive results over time. Success is rarely the result of one heroic effort. It is the result of ordinary actions done consistently. Excuses keep you focused on what's wrong. Discipline keeps you focused on what's possible. The moment you stop arguing with your responsibilities, energy returns, momentum builds, confidence grows. You stop waiting for life to push you forward because you are now moving on purpose. Discipline is not something you wait to develop. It begins the instant you decide that excuses no longer serve you. That decision changes your identity from someone who hopes to someone who acts. Life rewards discipline with progress. It rewards consistency with confidence. And it rewards responsibility with opportunity. In the excuses and discipline will take their place. Most people spend their lives trying to change everything around them. They want better conditions, easier situations, more supportive people, and fewer obstacles. They believe that if circumstances would just improve, life would finally move in their favor. But this way of thinking leads to frustration because circumstances are slow to change and often beyond your control. The truth is simple but powerful. You don't change circumstances directly. You change yourself and circumstances respond. Circumstances are not personal. They don't judge, reward, or punish. They simply reflect the level of thinking, skill, discipline, and responsibility you bring to life. When you improve those things, your environment has no choice but to change. People often say, if things were different, I'd be different. But life works in the opposite direction. When you become different, things become different. Waiting for circumstances to change keeps you passive. Changing yourself puts you in motion. Self-change begins with awareness. You start noticing patterns in your behavior, how you manage time, how you react under pressure, how you speak to yourself when things go wrong. These small patterns, repeated daily, shape your results. Many want a better job, but won't develop better skills. Many want better health, but won't change daily habits. Many want better relationships, but won't improve communication or patience. Circumstances reflect preparation. When you grow in discipline, your options expand. When you grow in knowledge, opportunities appear. When you grow in character, trust follows. Growth creates leverage. Changing yourself does not mean rejecting where you are. It means accepting responsibility for where you're going. You stop saying, why is this happening to me? And start saying, what must I become to handle this better? That question turns obstacles into training grounds. Life does not give more responsibility to those who complain. It gives more responsibility to those who are prepared. Preparation is personal growth in action. This is why strong individuals rise in difficult times while others struggle even in good times. The difference is not luck. It is inner development. When you work on yourself, you increase your value. And when your value increases, the world makes room for you. Better positions, better income, better connections, they all follow growth. But here's the challenge. Self-change requires patience. Results may not show immediately. That's why many quit too early. They change their actions for a week, then return to old habits when life doesn't instantly reward them. Growth is cumulative. Every disciplined day adds up. Every lesson learned strengthens you. Every responsibility accepted prepares you for more. Circumstances may test you, but they also reveal you, and what they reveal can be improved. Instead of asking life to be easier, decide to be stronger. Instead of waiting for better conditions, become better conditioned. The moment you shift focus from fixing the world to developing yourself, progress accelerates. You become proactive instead of reactive. You begin shaping outcomes instead of explaining them. You don't change circumstances by force. You change circumstances by growth. And the moment you commit to becoming better mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, life begins to respond. Because when you change yourself, everything else eventually follows. There is a moment in every successful life that is rarely talked about. It is not dramatic. It does not make headlines. Yet it is the moment when progress truly begins, the moment a person stops resisting responsibility and starts embracing it. Most people believe responsibility is heavy. They think it adds pressure, stress, and burden. But the opposite is true. The more responsibility you accept, the more control you gain, and control brings peace. Life begins to cooperate when you stop fighting reality and start working with it. Resistance drains energy. Complaining drains energy. Blaming drains energy. But responsibility focuses energy. It gathers your attention and points it toward solutions. That is why people who accept responsibility appear calmer, more confident, and more capable even under pressure. When you accept responsibility, you stop asking, "Why is life doing this to me?" and start asking, "What is life teaching me?" That shift alone transforms frustration into clarity. Life cooperates not because it is kind, but because it is logical. It responds to effort, discipline, and growth. It opens doors for those who prepare themselves to walk through them. Responsibility builds alignment between your actions and your goals. You no longer depend on moods or motivation. You move because progress matters more than comfort. And something remarkable happens when you do this consistently. Obstacles lose their power. They don't disappear, but they stop controlling you. You become larger than the problems you face. Many people wait for confidence before taking responsibility, but confidence comes after responsibility, not before it. Every time you take ownership, you prove to yourself that you can handle more. That proof builds inner strength. Life cooperates by revealing opportunities to those who are ready. It introduces the right people, the right challenges, and the right lessons at the right time. Not by coincidence, but by preparation. The person who avoids responsibility stays dependent. The person who accepts it becomes self-directed. And self-directed people always move forward, even when the path is uncertain. Responsibility also sharpens awareness. You become more careful with time, more intentional with words, more thoughtful in decisions, because you understand that everything you do creates consequences. This awareness creates maturity, and maturity earns respect from others and from life itself. Life doesn't cooperate with wishful thinking. It cooperates with disciplined action. It doesn't respond to complaints. It responds to growth. The day you accept responsibility, you stop waiting for life to give you permission. You take initiative. You stop reacting and start leading. And here is the most powerful truth of all: responsibility is not something life demands from you. It is something you choose for yourself. And once chosen, it becomes a source of strength. The weight you feared turns into freedom. The pressure you avoided turns into purpose. The responsibility you resisted becomes the reason you grow. Life does not reward avoidance. Life rewards ownership. And the day you fully accept responsibility for your thoughts, your habits, and your actions, life begins to cooperate in ways you never expected. Because when you step up, life responds. That is the moment everything changes.